Welcome to our quick start guide for Affliction Warlock in Mist of Pandaria. This video is going to cover everything that you need to know for setting up your character, which includes the best race, the best talents, glyphs, gear, professions, macros, and so much more. But first, let's talk about what's new and what to expect from your spec in PvP. If big damage and spread pressure is your thing, Affliction Warlock is going to be right up your alley. In MoP, you have one goal: keep dots on everyone at all times. And just like in Cataclysm, Soul Swap is a huge part of this. But now you also have Soul Burn to instantly apply dots to a target before spreading them around all game. This makes dot management pretty straightforward. Now, when you're not managing dots, you are the goalie for your team, keeping control over the game with Fears, Shadow Furies, and Spell Locks. Warlocks continue to be the masters at dictating the game, slowly building enough momentum to completely snowball the enemy team. And because of this, you have a ton of comp options in 3v3. You can play with almost any melee or caster and even hunters. Now, if there is one massive learning curve for this spec, it's definitely snapshotting. The amount of damage you can do scales exponentially based on how well you can abuse buffs and procs. Everything from Dark Soul to Trinket procs, and even the Herbalism ability. Yes, lifeblood of all things. If that's news to you, don't worry about this. But before we start with all that, this is just the first part in our Mist of Pandaria series. Our complete courses, including healing, damage, and playstyle guides, they are all available exclusively at skillcap.com. For the past few months, we've been working alongside the best and the most dedicated players ever in Mist of Pandaria. And right now, you can get ahead of 90% of players instantly thanks to our revamped courses, which teach you literally everything you need to know. And that's why we continue to offer a 400 rating gain guarantee across all of our games. So whether you want to experience MoP Classic or hop into retail, be sure to click the discount link below in order to get started. But for now, let's get back to the video. Alright, so it is time to make the very first decision before you even step foot into the game. Picking your race. Racials, they matter a lot in Classic, and MoP is no different. If you plan on playing Alliance, then Human is going to be best without question. In fact, for many DPS, this is going to be the best race in the entire game. Now, why is that? Well, that's thanks to the Will to Survive racial. Humans are able to wear 2 damage trinkets with this, which is a really big deal since trinket procs and effects represent a massive power spike. Now, if you want to play Horde, that's okay. Orc is definitely your best option here. Hardiness is arguably the best racial passive in the game, offering 15% stun reduction, which even stacks with similar effects, not to mention Blood Fury, which is also a huge power spike, acting as a pseudo unused trinket. Now, in the event you really don't want to play Orc, then Undead is a viable alternative to that. Will of the Forsaken is more relevant in MoP given the popularity of Warriors and Warlocks. Also, the casting animations, they're worth it on their own, right? But now, let's talk about talents and glyphs, which both received an overhaul going into the expansion and are now much more streamlined. For our first, we're always going to play Dark Regeneration. This basically gives us a second health stone with the added benefit of increasing our healing taken. Then for the next row, we're going to be playing Shadow Fury in most games. This is going to give us an instant cast ranged AoE stun, which we can use defensively to peel or to stop a cast, or offensively in order to set up fears on enemy healers. However, if you're playing with a rogue, Windwalker monk, or even an arms warrior, you could consider Coil to combo off of stuns on kill targets. Then for our level 45 talents, we're going to be playing Soul Link 100% of the time. Now, while Dark Bargain might seem a little bit tempting to some, Soul Link's 20% damage reduction or HP increase is way more consistent. For the next row, we're going to have some options here. If you're playing against melee, and especially melee cleaves, Blood Horror is the way to go. However, if you're playing into caster cleaves or a hybrid comp with a mage like RMD, then Unbound Will is preferred as an extra CC break. We also have some options for the next row. By default, we'll play Grimoire of Supremacy, which will make our pet significantly stronger. However, if we're playing against double caster, we'll swap to Grimoire of Sacrifice. Having our pet die is really brutal against 2 casters, and this allows us to not only interrupt without a pet active, but even allows us to double spell lock. Finally, for our last row, we're going to play Archimonde's Darkness no matter what. Having 2 charges of our main offensive gives us more momentum spikes and more opportunities to snapshot our dots. Now, as far as glyphs are concerned, let's break things down into a few categories here. We have 2 hard-lock glyphs, the first being Unstable Affliction. This simply reduces the cast time on UA, which makes getting out dots much easier. Then we're going to play with Eternal Resolve. This will prevent us from using Unending Resolve, but it's going to give us a passive 10% damage reduction, which stacks with Soul Link. Then for our third slot, we're going to soft lock Glyph of Healthstone. This is going to make it heal twice as much, but as a hot, which is not that risky considering we're passively tanky. We have 2 flex glyphs we could play instead, including Demonic Circle, which can be helpful against melee cleaves, and Siphon Life, which is good in matchups where there's a lot of constant damage, as is the case against dot comps. There's only one minor glyph that's actually going to matter in Arena, and that is Health Funnel, which makes it easier to heal our pet. And if you plan on playing BGs, then be sure to take Glyph of Nightmares and Unending Breath. But now it's time to move on to the exciting bit of this course, gearing your character. Now, luckily, there is absolutely no PvE involved here. First, though, let's talk about our stat priority, which will affect the pieces that we buy and how we gem and enchant them. Intellect is the most important stat by far, as it's going to affect our damage the most. But with that in mind, we need to make sure we're getting 6% hit so our spells don't miss. Then we're going to aim to get as much haste as possible. This will not only add a ton of fluidity to our rotation, but it's also super important for damage. After this, there is a massive drop-off. Mastery is next in line, and Critical Strike is by far our least important stat. MOP also introduces 2 new stats, PvP Resilience, which reduces damage taken from enemy players, and PvP Power, which increases healing and your damage done to other players. Both of these stats occur naturally on PvP gear, and they're the reason why all of your best in-slot gear will be from PvP. While they are important, you really don't need to worry about them when gearing. Now, like most expansions, you're going to start by collecting full honor gear while gradually farming Conquest every week to replace each slot with higher item level epics. Now, luckily, the stats on items offered in each slot are exactly the same, so with that in mind, let's break down our biz lists. For our main pieces, we're going to be wearing all 5 pieces of the Fellweave set. Then we're going to get the Alacrity neck and the Cloak and Bracers of Prowess. For our belt, we're going to go with Accuracy, and then we're going to get the Alacrity boots. Our rings will be Accuracy and Cruelty, which are the only 2 options. For our weapon, we're going to get the Spellblade Dagger and in-game Offhand. You're going to wear 2 PvP trinkets no matter what because of their Resilience set bonus. As a human, we're going to be wearing double damage trinkets using the badge and the Insignia of Dominance. Then, if we're Orc, we'll wear a PvP medallion with the Insignia trinket in order to snapshot dots. Luckily, enchants are pretty streamlined in MOP. For our weapon and offhand, we're always going to use Jade Spirit and Major Intellect. Then for our high-ticket enchants, we're going to get the Greater Crane Wing inscription on our shoulders, and then the Greater Cerulean Spell Thread on our legs. Then going through our minor enchants, unless we're a tailor, we're going to get Superior Intellect on our cloak, and no matter what, we'll get Glorious Stats on our chest, and Super Intellect on our bracers. On our gloves, we'll use Greater Haste. And finally, for our boots, we recommend Pandarian Step for extra movement speed and increased mastery. Now, as far as gems are concerned, we're actually looking to maximize haste here. In red sockets, we'll use Reckless Vermilion Onyx. In yellows, Quick Sun's Radiance. Finally, in blues, we'll use Lightning Wild Jade for hit and haste. And don't forget, you get an extra prismatic socket in your belt with the Living Steel Belt Buckle. Then for our meta gem, we're going to get the Burning Primal Diamond for maximum damage. But as a niche pick against casters, we can play the optional Spell Reflect meta gem. Doing so will cause us to lose some damage, but potentially make some game-winning plays with good RNG. So once you have everything geared and enchanted, be sure to head over to the Reforger to fine-tune your stats. Now our goal here is going to be to make sure we reach our 6% hit cap first, and then getting as much haste as we possibly can. We're going to prioritize removing that critical strike wherever we can, and then mastery if needed. Now, just like other classic expansions, professions do matter in Mist of Pandaria. As an Affliction Warlock, you should always be tailoring, which offers a unique cloak enchant that can proc an extra 2,000 intellect for 15 seconds, which is absurdly strong for snapshotting dots. And for our second profession, we're going to get Herbalism of all things. Since it gives us a huge haste modifier, we can stack with our other buffs to maximize dot damage. And you can learn more about this in our damage guides at skillcap.com. Now, normally we would give you your macros right here, but to make things even easier this time around, we got everything you need on our article site. There you can copy-paste each macro one by one instead of needing to manually type in-game. But before we go, you really don't want to miss this opportunity to get a massive head start on the competition with our 400 rating gain guarantee. Our courses and arena commentaries They literally have everything you need to help you reach your goals. Regardless of how easy or how hard your class is to play, we've got you covered here. So head on over to skillcap.com and sign up today to start your journey to Gladiator.